Hello, Cloud Dwellers, and welcome back to Blue Cloud University. Now, this week's video is an exploration of the kinds of questions that may pop up during a certification exam, and in particular, the Marketing Cloud Email Specialist exam. And what I want to be able to do is provide you with a deeper understanding when you approach questions like this as to why certain answers are absolutely not going to work and why the right answer is the right answer. Now, let's take a look at this week's question.
This question asks, Benson's Widgets has acquired a new dedicated IP address that they want to use to send transactional emails. What does the Marketing Cloud admin need to do to add this new IP address to Marketing Cloud? Now, this question is asking a few things that are going to require an understanding of what these different terms mean. Let's start with this up here. What is a transactional email? Well, a transactional email is classified as basically the continuation of a conversation or a follow-up. So, for example, let's say I go to an online store and I place an order. They send me a confirmation email regarding my order, maybe some shipping information. That is known as a transactional email. It's really a response to something that I have done. The alternative to a transactional email is a commercial email. A commercial email is generally considered one that has a marketing message associated with it, something that is really, in essence, saying, hey, we'd like you to buy our stuff. So in this scenario, when we send emails out the door, we have to classify whether or not they're going to be a commercial email or a transactional email. We'll talk a little bit more about the importance of these as we go along. But in this case, they want to be able to send a transactional email, and they want to use a new dedicated Internet Protocol address to do this. So how do we set this up? And I'm going to show you a few different things, but first of all, let's see if we can eliminate anything here that may not work for us. Now, this first potential answer says, assign the IP address directly to the email sends by linking the new IP address to the outgoing emails. All right, is that something we can do? Let's check it out. Now, if we go to the Content tab in Email Studio, we can see all of the emails that we have available to send out. We have a test email we're going to work with here. On the right-hand side, there's a pull-down menu, and one of the choices we can grab here is Send. Now, this is known as the send flow process. So with the send flow process, we would start by defining which email we want to send and who it's being sent from. And we have two things that we're sending. We have a send classification, which includes a sender profile, who the email is from, as well as a delivery profile, how the email is being sent out the door. Moreover, what type of IP address is being used. The next thing we'd do is we would choose an audience, and that would allow us to go into our data extensions and find a data set that would work best to fit our needs. From there, we can configure the delivery and choose to either send the email out right now or schedule it for release at a later time. And then finally, we review and send. We look and say, who are we sending it to? When is it being sent? And what are we sending? However, note that nowhere in this process is there anything at all about how to set a specific IP address for the purposes of this send. And the reason behind that is because we can't. So that brings us back to that answer, which is going to be incorrect. We cannot assign the IP address directly to the email send by linking to the new IP address in the outgoing email. So that one is crossed off. We can't do it. Answer 2 offers to create a new delivery profile and assign the new IP address to that profile. Advise the marketing team to use this delivery profile for specific email sends. So what this is sharing with us is that if we were to go and assign a new IP address to a delivery profile, we could then use that delivery profile in the future. Let's go back into Marketing Cloud and see how that might work. Now, once again, when we're sending an email out, we can choose who the email is from and how it's being sent out based on the delivery profile. I can go in and find a list of delivery profiles if I have them. In this case, we're working with a single delivery profile, so we have a single default to work with. However, if I had an extra IP address and I wanted to utilize that to create a new delivery profile, how would I go about that? One, within Email Studio, we can go over to the Admin tab. And by clicking in the Admin tab, if we go to the Send Management Tools, one of the things we have is delivery profiles. And delivery profiles allow us to go create a new delivery profile by clicking on the Create button here. By giving it a name and a description here, we can then choose the IP address if we have access to it. Now, in this current account, I only have one IP address, so I can't hook another one up, but I could come in here and choose which one it is and say this is going to be the default for this account, or I can make it private, and I can create an alternative way to send emails out the door. Think of it this way. Let's say as a business, you have different channels that you can send out through. And these channels are really how you send an email from your business to other people, right? What is the path that it takes? That's really what the IP address allows us to do when we send things out the door. It allows us to choose the channel we want to use to send. Now, why is this important? Well, if an IP address gets blocked, and they can get blocked by ISPs if there's suspicions that an organization is sending out spam messages, that stops that channel altogether. No email can go out the door. And as a result, if you don't have an alternative, you're stuck there until the problem gets resolved. So having more than one IP address, or having an IP address that's dedicated for your commercial email sends and a second which is dedicated for your transactional email sends, is a solution that we might put into play here. So I can create a second profile here and make this happen. So the short answer here is that we can create a second or third delivery profile if we have additional IP addresses to work on. And then we can turn around and say to the team, by the way, when you send things out the door and it's a transactional email, please use this IP address. If it's commercial, let's use this other IP address. So in this scenario, answer number 2 is a viable answer. It could be possible. Now let's take a look at answer number 3 and see how that fits in. Answer number 3 says we can change the dedicated IP address in the sender authentication package so that the IP address will automatically be assigned to the email sends. So one of the things we probably need to know about is, what is the sender authentication package? Now, looking at the Salesforce help pages, we can find information about the email sender authentication package, or as it often is referred to as the SAP or SAP. What the SAP allows us to do as marketers is to get additional support. For example, when we log in to our instance of Marketing Cloud, we can see our account information. Instead of a generic or Salesforce, we get to see our brands, our information that we can share with our users internally. But we also end up getting a private domain, and this domain can be protected. And what this allows us to do is to be able to send emails from within Marketing Cloud without restrictions, and also without fear that we might get blocked by certain ISPs depending on what's going on. And there's also custom domains that we can use for cloud pages, and also dedicated IP addresses. So you get a brand new IP address that, again, is protected within Marketing Cloud, and it makes it a lot harder for people to get in the way of you being able to send emails out the door. Now, this is great and all, but one of the things that we can't do here is within the SAP, we can't point to a dedicated IP address and say, use this one for the email sends that we have going on. So even though it sounds plausible, answer number 3 doesn't really work for us either, because we can't change the dedicated IP address in the SAP. That's not how it works. So answer number 3 is not going to work for us either. Let's take a look at answer number 4. This says we can use personalization strings in the email to assign the IP address to the outgoing email. Again, let's take a look at this in Marketing Cloud. When I'm designing an email in Marketing Cloud, one of the opportunities I have is to come in here and say, I would like to personalize some of this content. Now, the way I do this is I have to have a data source. So if I were to come in here and say, let me go into some data that I have, and I want to be able to pull something like an email address. And let's say I want to put that information straight into the copy for the email I'm sending out the door, I can then link to it this way. So the personalization strings allow me to come in here and to choose different elements I can use to personalize this particular email. Now, it's a great tool, and we'll get an opportunity to explore this a little bit further in different lessons. But one of the things I want to share with you is there's no way in here that I can point to a dedicated IP address and say, use that IP address for the sending of this email. So once again, the answer sounds plausible, but it is actually going to be incorrect. So in this scenario, the one answer we want to go with here is going to be number 2, to create a new delivery profile and assign the new IP address to that profile. And of course, advising the marketing team which one we want to use. This is for transactional email sends. This other IP address will be for commercial email sends.